Ever feel like business podcasts are just one big sales pitch? Welcome to the Marketing Thread. I'm your host, Brendan Salisbury. We created the show for one simple reason. We love talking about marketing. This isn't a corporate front or a rigid interview series. It's a candid, peer-to-peer conversation with people who are obsessed with what they do. We dive deep into topics that our guests are passionate about, from the latest tech to old school strategies. Plus, we wrap up every episode by diving into the chaos of the internet with our Ask Reddit segment, answering the marketing questions that have the community buzzing. If you want a seat at the table for a real conversation between marketers, you're in the right thread. Excited to be joined today by a good friend of mine, Tom Meredith. Tom, we've been working together on several different projects over the course of the past couple of years, and first met each other in some work that we were doing with Tier 11 back a couple years ago. And always been fascinated with the latest and greatest that Tom, I think of Tom as like the professor in the lab, always working on something new. And just excited to have you on, Tom, just to hear a little bit about like what's the latest stuff you've been working on. But before we dive into that, you mind just telling the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, like Brandon said, we've been working together off and on for a couple of years now. I was introduced to Brandon as like the demand gen guru, but that's really narrowing the focus of what he's excellent at. As for me, I kind of have a strong creative background. I worked at Disney and stuff like that in the past, and a lot of marketing on the creative side. But now I'm like thoroughly obsessed with like developing AI tools to eliminate the drudgery that mostly marketers deal with, but really any role in a business.
Yeah, I love that. Like you said, everything across the business can be touched by AI and probably made more efficient. But talk to me about some of the latest, greatest things you're experimenting with as it relates to marketing.
Yeah, I will give the quick caveat that I'm probably way too deep in this, and some of it might be a little bit out there. So feel free to reel me back in. For me, like the main thing that I've been focused on really for probably since November, maybe October, is really using Claude Code for everything. Like, we can go through a lot of the use cases. I don't use ChatGPT anymore. I was a big fan of Manus for a while. I don't even use that. For me, it's just like straight Claude Code in the terminal. Like I'm a hacker from the Hackers movie with Angelina Jolie.
Nice. So what are some of the experiments you're running with Claude Code right now?
I think one of the things that's really powerful about Claude Code is that it sits like in your computer. So it's another way for you to interact with your computer and not necessarily directly with the web, which opens up a lot of possibilities for how it can interact with files that you have stored, I actually had it open up randomly Illustrator for me one day, and I was like, oh, it's like taking some actions here to create some, in that case, I was creating a favicon for a website. But the thing that I think is most interesting is getting rid of things I hate. So you can use Claude Code to control your browser, and had to get tracking set up for a website. And if you've ever had to set up tracking, it is boring and technical and the perfect thing for Claude Code.
Yeah, I mean, that's what AI is really good at, right? It's like removing those tedious tasks, the repetitive tasks that honestly, not a lot of us really enjoy doing. One of the things and I'm a big fan of Claude myself. I use ChatGPT, used Gemini, but none of them really stood up to what Claude Code could do. Been experimenting a little bit with Opus 4.6, and just like the amount of like cool, like in-depth research that can do, painting a very in-depth like picture of the landscape, really helping. One of the things we did was we anonymized all of our information, customer information, and just gave it data. And we're able to take across like marketing, sales, customer success, be able to really look at the full picture of our prospect base database, and be able to reel in like who are our like what is the profile of what our best customers look like. And then how do we build out some of the information, psychographic information, to help us find lookalike companies or targets that would make good customers and a good fit for us. And then in doing that, we're able to also analyze that information to help speed up the ramp up process for new hires coming on board, where we're able to build out a full profile, not just like your typical like one slide, like what's our customer profile or whatever, but really like an in-depth analysis of like what their experience is like, what things they struggle with, what a day, a normal day looks like, and able to help like people that are onboarding with our company as new employees just like get caught up to speed and know our customer a lot faster, so that they can start making an impact much faster than going out doing 20 different interviews and trying to make sense of like the array of data that they get when they're doing these things. So super impactful to just be able to pull in all this information, make sense of it, and create an output like that.
Yeah, that's really a really smart way of doing it. I think you kind of hit on something that I didn't realize until you were talking about it, is you started with the one thing, but because of the conversational nature that you have with Claude in this case, you can easily take that one idea and expand it into onboarding a new hire, which is not what you initially probably set out to do.
Yeah, not at all.
It's like you start to use all the data you're getting from your anonymized customer data, and you start to see the outputs, and that sparks another idea of like, oh, I can use this output to create onboarding material for a new hire, so I don't have to really walk them through it as much. Like I can give them a really robust document about the business, about our different personas, how they should reach out to them, where they live, like all that sort of stuff. That's really interesting perspective.
Yeah, and it comes from, what's important here is like just the experimentation, like refining your prompts over time. There's a couple of guys that I enjoy like following, and they offer out these like free prompts and stuff. There's this a guy named Christopher Rubin and his team, Michael Edwards. They are, you follow them on LinkedIn, and they're putting out some of this free stuff, and super like awesome way just to learn from them and refine what they've put out there as kind of a starting point, but also just like getting in and playing with it yourself, like having an initial objective, like you said, and building around that, and then looking for other use cases to use that data. Do
you find like that you're using a certain prompt or style of prompt over and over again? And if so, like what's the one prompt that you should probably just create a shortcut for?
Yeah, the one thing that I go back to over and over again is particularly when I'm trying to take one of the things I like to do is take videos like this and take the transcript and create like, articles, social media posts, doing research on keywords and things like that. And it's pure laziness. I just type in the same prompt over and over again. I could probably just create something to do that repetitive task. But haven't got there yet.
Have you used the tool Whisperflow?
No, tell us about it.
Whisperflow is maybe the best AI tool so far. And it is...
Bold statement, Tom. It's a bold statement.
I think you would find a lot of agreement with it. It's like, I don't even know what it is, like $10 a month or something, maybe even cheaper than that. Basically, it transcribes what you say into a text box. It sounds obvious. It sounds like there's tons of other stuff out there like this. All I have to do is hit I don't even know what this button is, the bottom left button on my keyboard, and just talk straight into the mic, and it will transcribe it and drop it straight into whatever text field I have set up. Which, yeah, sure, there's dictation and all that, but there's just something magical about Whisperflow and how easily it works.
This is it right here?
Yeah. Now, my wife thinks I'm an idiot for talking to my computer, but I think she's an idiot for having to type.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk a lot faster, and I I don't know about you, but when I'm trying to type and think about what I want to say at the same time, sometimes thoughts pop in your head and you can't get it out fast enough and you lose it. So
Yeah. So far, I guess I've been using it for 9 weeks, 276,000 words, and I speak apparently at 126 words per minute. I don't even think I could type half that fast. And I'm a decently fast typer.
that's awesome. So what are some ways that you're using WhisperFlow?
Like basically everywhere. You have to be a little bit like careful with Slack because you probably type in Slack differently than you speak without realizing it. So you have to modify how you type in Slack, but almost any prompt input, I will just speak it. That way, especially if I'm saying the same thing over and over again, like I've got my core prompts that I tend to use, at least at a meaningful level, and I'll just speak it each time as opposed to having to type it. But yeah, any sort of prompt, it kind of makes it feel like you're having an actual conversation with these tools.
Yeah.
Good or bad, I don't know.
Yeah. Your wife opens the door. She's like, who are you talking to?
Yeah. Are you on a call? No, I'm just talking to my computer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anything else you've been experimenting with lately?
Lots of stuff. I think you started to hit on something that I've been doing slightly differently, is you've been creating these onboarding materials using Claude for humans. I will use Claude to create onboarding materials for another agent. And I found that's one of the best ways to get an agent set up as, if you have a specific like role in mind, have Claude go deep research, find the best practices and principles underlying this role and what's going to make them successful, and write a training and onboarding documentation that you can hand to this new agent or prompt so that it gets right up to speed. I've been doing that a lot. I've been playing a lot with Open Claude, which I don't know how familiar y'all are. It's what's been leading to all the Mac Minis being sold out. Basically, it is more or less a wrapper around LLMs where it basically triggers however long, like they call it cron job, but on an alarm, it'll kick up, start working through whatever task you've given it and do it fairly autonomously. How much control you give it is another thing, but I've been using some of that for some of the more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Experimental go-to-market things. So I've got, my wife and I bought a boring business 2 years ago now. That's a local cake and candy supply store. And I'm the only one that markets for it. And I hate marketing for it. So I've got an Open Claude connected to the Google ads, like the Google business profile. And it does all the little annoying things that I don't want to do. Like it's posting on the Google business profile, which nobody does because it's annoying. Yeah. It checks all the keywords that I'm trying to show up for in search, like whatever baking supply near me. It's been writing content for it that I wouldn't have expected. Like it just wrote content for some sort of like the perfect quinceañera birthday cake.
Nice. Yeah. You're not that wasn't on your original content plan, huh?
No. But it's like, but it did a bunch of deep research because I gave it access to GA4 and Google Business Profile and Google Search Console. And it's like, oh, here's an opportunity that you're missing is you have quite a few Spanish speaking customers. You should start doing more Spanish content. I'm like, duh. I live in the west side of Los Angeles. It's, the majority Latinos out here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Like not just doing the research, but giving the insights. That's a huge advantage for AI.
Another like really valuable thing I think for any marketer is to giving Claude Code access to a browser allows it to browse, obviously, but to prompt it to go do an extensive audit on various customer journeys and user journeys through not just your website, but like the whole marketing flow. Like get it to sign up for an email, see what the emails say, and really make an audit for places where you're maybe weak or where messages are strong, where there's incongruencies across the website or the customer journey, and basically give you a long list of things to fix.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really good use case. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about something you'd put together. You'd put together like an ICP generator. Tell us about that.
The ICP generator. Is that the Stanford one?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was along those lines.
Okay. The problem is you build so many things that are often kind of similar that you forget about them. So Stanford had put out a study where they had interviewed 1,000 people, and then they had used an LLM to basically interview. They interviewed 1,000 LLM made people as well. And they found that by creating really robust and specific personas, they would get about 85% accuracy for compared to the humans. So I've started to basically feed that article into Claude Code and say, generate, a couple dozen users of my website, go investigate it, go read this article from Stanford and build out these user personas. And the thing I think is really magical here is don't tell me what they want, tell me what they don't want about the industry, even about our product. And what they don't want is really the gaps in the market that we can strive to fill. And that's been really helpful for me. And I've started to expand it even beyond like marketing into, how would a variety of users interact with the website.
Yeah. So tell me more about like your use of like what they don't want. Like that sounds counterintuitive, right? Like tell me what they don't want. Those are the opportunities in the market. How are you using that to expand your offerings?
I think this is true for humans as well. Like if you're ever interviewing customers and they're telling you what they like or what they want, it goes back to, a cliche, but the Henry Ford saying, if I asked customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse, not a car.
Right.
What they don't want is really like the things they hate. Hopefully it's about your customer, your competitors. And it's really the opportunity for you to differentiate yourself. I'm not sure that answered your question.
Yeah. So it sounds like keeping along the lines of the Henry Ford quote, it looks like, if you ask them, if you just ran the audit for what they want, it's just gonna give you the information based off of what your customers know to be true today. But by asking it what they don't want, gives you insights into like the new offerings out there that they aren't even aware are even possibilities.
Yeah, it's a pretty like classic direct response framing. You want to move customers from pain to pleasure, and identifying all those pains tells you where you can push them away from, or if they're earlier on in the funnel, where the pains that you can push on as well.
Yeah, nice. What's a piece of advice that you'd give to somebody that's trying to get in and experiment with AI today?
I would say really push yourself beyond what you think is possible and remove any biases you have of, AI is just word prediction. Technically, yes, but it's more than that. It's more like meaning prediction. And I would say just keep using it. If you want to start to set yourself up as being really on the cutting edge of AI, I'd probably get Claude Cowork. Claude Code can be pretty intimidating, but Claude Cowork is a bit more of a user-friendly version of that. It still interacts with your computer instead of Claude, which is on the web. And you can give it access to, really anything. But if you can give it access to your meta ads, your email, your calendar, it can act as your personal assistant. It's really a matter of like any idea that you have or anything that you can do on your computer, Claude can do. Like, because anything that's on the computer is code. Like just by definition, Claude Code can manipulate code. So understanding that like core principle is like, anything I can do, I could probably get it to do. You might have to give it authorization or log it in or whatever, and watch it closely.
Watch it closely is right. Making sure it has the right parameters so it knows where to operate.
What's your top advice for people using AI right now?
Get started. My top advice is like don't let not knowing be a barrier to getting started. When I started experimenting with Claude Code, like my prompts were incredibly basic, and probably I could have just done what I needed to do through Google. But I just started there and started to play with it and refine it and see what was possible. And I think, a lot of marketers that I talk to, they're just like, I don't know where to get started. And the perfect place to get started is just wherever you're at. Get in, connect with some of these people, like I mentioned earlier, Christopher Rubin, those on LinkedIn that, you can learn from. You can learn how they're writing prompts. You can learn how they're using AI in marketing. But yeah, really just, set up a personal account, try some different things, experiment and learn. It's been a long time since I've been in school, so I know for dang sure, like no one was teaching this stuff when I was in college, right? Like it's all self-taught. So, and any marketer in our stage is in the same boat. So, get out there, self-teach, and don't let not knowing be the barrier to getting started.
I mean, that's a really good point of like everybody's basically in our stage. Like at best, somebody has a year on you.
Yeah.
You can close that gap in no time.
Yeah. Anyone that, says that they came out an expert's a liar, right? Like it's new, right? It's like when social media came out, I won't even tell you like how old I was when Facebook was first coming out, but I was one of the ones that had to wait for my college to get accepted into Facebook to use it. But it's just like then, like it wasn't something that was native to, how, our normal day-to-day interactions. We had to learn how to market there and run ads and stuff like that. It's not something that was just like, there was no Facebook 101 in college. We had to self-teach and experiment.
Yeah. I mean, my other advice for learning is YouTube and Twitter. Those are the best spots I've found. You don't need to get a course because the course is already outdated and the person who's teaching it doesn't know much more than you. Same thing with like reading a book about AI. Like just go watch YouTube videos from like the last 3 weeks in AI plus whatever your industry is, and you'll find something. Or search Twitter. Like there's tons of like really interesting and like cutting edge content on both of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And the platforms themselves have a lot of good courses. You could like self-learning courses that you can utilize as well. So a good place to start too.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this like idea. I haven't fully formed it yet, but basically I call it the AI sandwich, which is you imagine AI is in the middle. There's going to be a group of people below the AI is telling what to do. And there's a group of people above the AI, which for some period of time will be telling the AI what to do. I'm just trying to be in the spot where it's telling the AI what to do. So,
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with having the AI like tell you what ads to go turn off or whatever else the AI might inform you and give you an insight into what to do. But I think that's the really interesting stuff is like, how do you take what you know and build tools that the AI could then help you or help the people you work with?
Yeah. I'd be curious your thoughts on this because, we've had the Industrial Revolution, we've had, the .com era, we're now in the AI era. And with each of these like shifts in how we work, there's always this fear of like this new thing replacing me as a worker. So what advice would you have for marketers that are out there that are like, oh man, I don't want to implement AI because then I'm teaching it my job and it's going to replace me?
Whether you want to or not, AI is fundamentally going to change, I think, every job. Probably getting rid of a lot of them, but giving maybe new opportunities as well. I don't think anybody really knows other than the speed at which this is happening, how fast things are changing, how much capabilities of the AI are improving like month to month. you can't predict how fast jobs are going to go away and new jobs are going to show up. The only people who are going to benefit are those that are really on the leading edge of it and trying to see the opportunities for new jobs. If you're not doing that, there's a high likelihood that your job goes away or that AI becomes your boss because your job isn't valuable enough for an AI to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree.
Like your kids are what, college age or pretty close? Like,
Yeah.
This has got to be a terrible time to be considering what kind of, careers to go into or majors to do. Like, how do you talk to them about it?
Yeah, my son is he's a finance major. It's like, one of the things that I share with him and even like, some junior marketers that I talk to is like, with every shift there, you think back to the .com era where maybe before to market, you're sending out all these mailers. And so like the graphic design for mailers and print mail, like all that was, that was one of the major ways that you marketed, billboards, things like that. And then with the .com era, and as we move more and more digital, more and more of the mailers went away. And now it's like, all right, how do I run Google Ads? And so it wasn't necessarily that like the jobs went away, it's that the jobs changed. And so what I tell my son in finance and I tell junior marketers is it's not that the jobs are going to go away, it's that they're going to change. And the marketers that are going to be successful are going to be the ones that learn to work with AI and understand how to provide value to what that means to the business. The ones that don't adopt AI and they're not staying up with how to leverage it to more efficiently market are the ones that are, probably going to get phased out because they're not keeping up with the times, just as, moving away from mailers and into Google Ads was a major shift as well.
Yeah. Tell me if you agree or disagree with this statement. The people who are adapting AI, like in your own sphere, were already the high performers.
Oh, yeah. No, I 100% agree with that statement. I think that, high performers just inherently are inquisitive and want to learn like what's the next and latest and greatest thing. They're the ones that they don't fall into complacency. And so they're the ones that are out there learning what's the next thing. And so in all likelihood, they're the ones that are adopting AI and learning how to co-work with it rather than, fight against it. What's your perception there?
I totally think so. I was talking to an HR guy at an agency, and he's like, there's only like 3 people here who are even interested in AI. The rest I'm going to have to train. I'm like, you are not going to be able to train them. Like, you are better off just going with those 3 and, leveraging them with AI as much as you can, because they're going to outperform all of them. And I think, like, if you just think about the framing of your high performers are the ones that are leveraging AI. So now either high performers like times 10, like it's just gonna be so clear where the opportunity is for businesses is the high performers who use AI, maybe shrink the size of whatever the business is to support that and then grow more organically from there. I hate to say it's hard. It's gonna be really hard to train people to be interested in this until it's almost too late.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm going to move us into our next segment, which is our Ask Reddit segment. So here we go. One question I have for you. The first question I've got is how do I incorporate AI into my company's workflow without losing the human touch?
I have a pretty simple saying for this. AI does AI things and humans do human things. If it's a job that only a human can do, like actually talking to customers, you should focus on having your humans do that. If it's more of a process with defined outcomes, that's something you should start considering. How do I build AI automations or agents to do that? And they don't have to be complicated. It could be if you talk to your employees and they are struggling or hate anything your employee, again, it's the same thing. Anything they hate doing is an opportunity, right? Like, don't tell me what you want to do. Tell me what you don't want to do. And how can I take that off your plate? And that's an opportunity to find a way for AI to do it.
Yeah, that's great use.
How about you? Like, Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think agree with everything you said there. I think the one thing that I would add is, AI. At this point, I would leverage AI when we're talking about like marketing strategy and making decisions. I think incorporating AI into gathering information as inputs into making decisions for the business. I think is kind of how I view that relationship there. Give me the information and then let me take my experience and knowledge and make decisions that I think are going to be best, knowing the full context of the business. I see a world where AI will get better and better and it'll be able to take on more of that dynamic. But right now, I think, knowing your business, being able to take the inputs of the information to make decisions, particularly as it relates to strategy, is how I've seen it, how I'm seeing it more and more incorporated into the flow.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that humans don't like gathering data, which
Not
is
at all.
perfect for AI.
Not
And
at
then
all.
you can ask the AI to, to format it into and connect it in interesting ways that can help you make a better decision. You can even ask it to get a team of experts across a variety of specialties and have them argue over the data and then present their findings to me.
Yeah.
I mean, so that you can go into the meetings seeming like you've covered every possible base and that you're already on top of it and get ready for that promotion.
Yeah. Yeah. I love, that's a great point. And I love taking presentations or even like, business cases or briefs and putting it into the AI and like, hey, analyze this from every angle and tell me like, what are the questions that I should be prepared to answer? What are the gaps in my thinking? And just like having it like poke holes in it and prep you for conversations to be had. So yeah, love that. Here's another one here. How do I create a feedback loop so that the AI learns my brand specific style over time?
I'd be curious to how you're approaching this. I have some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we have that we've experimented with Gemini is creating a gem where we can load up like our initial like voice and tone and things like that, so it can begin to learn that. But then as it's creating content, just like right there, like give it within the gem, just giving it feedback, like, hey, this particular line we need to soften, or we need to take this kind of a tone when we talk about this, or this isn't quite serious enough for the topic that we're discussing. Just like giving it real feedback within the gem, so that as it it'll recreate the content that you're asking it to create, but then it'll learn from that over time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have as much experience with the Gemini. I used to use Claude projects like this a lot, where if you can find somebody at the business who speaks like the business, interviewing them and having that transcript as kind of a source for the tone and the style and the way the business says things can be really valuable as something to drop into that project. There's a Claude skill called Humanizer, which basically is a shortcut to get rid of all the M dashes and like negative or context setting and all these other like tells of AI.
The emojis.
Yeah. It's like you're a serious business and, we're using emojis today, apparently.
Yeah. Here's a nice little robot emoji right in the middle of whatever you're writing. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing is customers, like as much as a business wants to talk the way they want to talk, you're likely better off using your customer's own voice and talking back to them. And so getting customer interviews is another source of really getting language that will work for your business.
Yeah. I like that. All right, let's see what else we've got here. How can I use AI to brainstorm big ideas rather than just executing repetitive or small tasks?
I would say, in my experience, the best way to do that is to start small, like start at the beginning and just be open with the AI conversation. Say like, here's my plan. I want to have an outcome of this, but I don't really know where to get started. Why don't you help me get started? Like I think sometimes they call it like reverse prompting. Like ask the AI how they would prompt themselves for this
Nice.
and then work from there.
Yeah, I love that. One thing again that I've tried experimenting with is, anytime there's a LinkedIn post from a competitor or there's an article about just the market landscape, like pulling that into a Claude project so that all of those articles or posts or anything like that creates more and more context for that. And then, just again, like natural language, just asking it questions like, act as an industry analyst and what does this mean for the future of this industry, and if you were the head of this company, what threats would you anticipate this presenting? So pulling in as much industry related information in there as context, and then asking those strategic questions.
Yeah, and then if you get talking a bit more like marketing campaigns, like the more data and feedback that you can get early on into that conversation, whether it's what you're starting to hear from customers, or what stuff has worked well in the past, what landing pages or keywords are you tracking for, like using that as like an initial seed for developing potential tangential marketing campaigns is a really good place to start.
Yeah, love that. Cool. Well, Tom, we're at time, man. Always good to catch up. Thanks for hopping on. And like I said, I call you the professor because you're always in the lab working on something new. So it's great to hear what the latest and greatest is for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy to talk to a human about AI because normally I'm just talking to AI.
That's good. You can tell your wife you actually talked to someone real today.
Yeah. At this point, she doesn't even know what I do because I know better than to talk to her about it. Like she's the most advanced at her job with AI, and I just try to give her little nuggets here and there so that she can always stay a step ahead. But if I start talking like we were talking, she would find something else to do.
Yeah, that's great. Well, good. Well, thanks again, Tom.
Yeah.
And thank you, listeners, for joining the Marketing Thread. And until next time.
All right. See ya. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Tom.